1 in every 59 children in the United States are affected by autism spectrum disorder to some degree. Despite its prevalence, autistic children, as well as those who experience symptoms but may not be diagnosed, are often ignored, underaccommodated, or overaccommodated in the school systems across America. Many times, these children are put into boxes that can make them feel less capable than their peers, or are made to feel like they need to fit into a certain mold that is not who they are. So what can we as educators do to make our classrooms more open and accepting to autistic students? 1 in every 59 children in the United States are affected by autism spectrum disorder to some degree. Despite its prevalence, autistic children, as well as those who experience symptoms but may not be diagnosed, are often ignored, underaccommodated, or overaccommodated in the school systems across America. Many times, these children are put into boxes that can make them feel less capable than their peers, or are made to feel like they need to fit into a certain mold that is not who they are. So what can we as educators do to make our classrooms more open and accepting to autistic students? I had the opportunity to interview Sarah, an autistic adult who attends BYU, Idaho. Sarah was diagnosed with autism at the age of 16, but recognized symptoms of ASD throughout their young life. Sarah shared with me that they wished the signs of autism had been recognized in them earlier so that they could get help when they were struggling through elementary and secondary school.
Meltdowns weren't tantrums, and be able to help me through that.
For sure.
But I did learn to cope better myself. I was forced to kind of learn how to cope and stuff. So, I mean, it could have been good or bad. I don't know. I don't regret. I wouldn't change it if I could go back, but it might have been easier. I might have been able to get more services in school and stuff.
In many cases, behaviors that accompany autism can be mistaken for a child acting out for attention or just misbehaving, such as meltdowns, high sensory needs, physical stimulation, for example, hand flapping, or selective mutism. Sarah expresses that they wish that teachers would look at these behaviors as potential signs of neurodivergence, rather than something that the child is doing wrong. The best way to be able to help students who have autism is to recognize that autism is what is causing their problems and differences in the first place.
I would just cry. I would just cry and cry and cry for hours, and they would just send me to my bedroom because I thought I was throwing a tantrum. But I can remember thinking, I wish mom would come and give me a big tight hug, but I didn't know how to verbally express that, and so I'd just cry and cry and cry and hope that when I cried louder she would come and help me, but she never did, because then they just closed the door because they thought I was throwing a tantrum. But she helps me now and stuff. But
difficulty understanding the autism spectrum can also lead to teachers ignoring the needs of their students. Rather than being a line from high functioning to low functioning, the autism spectrum is more of a circle that includes many different categories of needs such as motor skills, verbal skills, and social skills. Autistic people may have difficulty in one area but excel in another. This does not make anyone more or less autistic than another. It simply means that they have different needs than someone else with autism. Sarah, for example, has high sensory needs, but excels in areas such as speech and motor skills.
I have a lot of sensory issues. That's the biggest thing for me. And so sensory and social. I just really, really struggled socially in school. I never really had friends. I imagine I was probably bullied, but I didn't recognize it because I was just doing my own thing, and I didn't really care what other people thought. But I imagine people probably did bully me. In middle school, I had one friend that was really good friends. We'd been friends since primary, and I knew her really well. And then beginning of high school, she kind of found a new friend and kind of left me behind, and so I had literally no friends once I got to high school, and so that was really hard. But I wasn't good at making friends. I figured out when I was in elementary school, they had a punishment that if you didn't turn your homework in, you had to stand on the fence for recess. And I, in my middle school brain, not wanting to interact with people, not wanting to be in the crowd and the loudness, I would do my homework, but I wouldn't turn it in so that I could stand on the fence during recess.
As teachers, the best thing we can do for autistic students is to get to know their individual circumstances and needs. We should never assume that one autistic student is the same as another. Once we know what each student struggles with, we can start coming up with solutions that benefit the individual student the best. Sarah expressed to me that they want teachers to let autistic students do what they need to do to be successful in schools and help them along that path.
I think mostly just like letting me do the things that I would need to. Like, I think sensory breaks would have been really helpful for me. Like, if I got really overwhelmed in class, to be able to just step out and chill for a little bit before going back into the classroom. Things like that, I think probably would have been really helpful.
Yeah.
But I think maybe just like not assuming that a student is like being bad just to be bad.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times kids are not being bad just to be bad. They're, for some reason, they can't regulate some kind of emotion that they're having, and that's the reason they're being the way they are. And so maybe trying to kind of get to the bottom of it, if you can talk to the parents, or if the kid is articulate enough to explain what's going on, or whatever else.
Thank you for listening to my presentation on autism spectrum disorder. I hope that this has helped open your eyes to the best ways to make your classroom open and accessible to autistic students.